Eyal Peretz has this story called If Not Higher. And I believe it's a fictional Hasidic story. But you know the quote, I don't remember who it's from, the Rizhiner Rebbe, I'm not sure which Rebbe says it. They're all given credit for it at some point, that anyone who believes all the stories in their purest form is a fool. And anyone who doesn't believe them has a heart of stone. It's kind of like that, half thing, and find yourself in the middle, which is true, because as a connoisseur of these stories, I've collected thousands of them, and I read many of them until I find the ones that I'm going to tell on the podcast. You come across the same story again and again with different rabbis, different characters, and similar circumstances, but not exactly the same. One was a woodcutter, the other was a water carrier, and you realize it's the same story that's being recycled and just given different credit. So in that sense, they're all kind of made up, but they're all true. And this story as well. So this is called If Not Higher, and I'll just give you the very short version. There's a guy who's a misnagid, who opposes the Hasidim. So just for background, the Hasidic movement was like a radical movement at the time. Before the Baal Shem Tov came around in the late 1600s, I think it was 1680, or let's say early 1700s when he really had his influence. So there was just the standard way of living Jewish life. We have the Shulchan Aruch. We know the law that we're supposed to follow. You have a question, go ask the rabbi. Otherwise, just live your life. And here comes the Baal Shem Tov, and he says, hang on, what's missing here is joy. We need to bring joy back to Judaism. And people are like, what are you talking about joy? That has nothing to do with Judaism. He said, I guarantee you the wood chopper who can't even recite the Psalms by heart, doesn't even know how to read, he's on a higher level than the greatest rabbi when he dances on Simchat Torah. And people were like, this is crazy. This is not Judaism. Now this clash between the Hasidim and the Misnagdim continued all the way up until the Reform movement. When the Reform movement came, they're like, Hasidim? That's not a problem. This is a problem. So that was like pushed aside very quickly. But there's still the idea of the people that oppose the Hasidim or the Misnagdim, and the Hasidim are, there's all kinds of jokes about the Hasidim, about being happy and not caring about Torah and all of that. So there's a Misnagid, there's a guy who comes to Nimenov. So Nimenov is actually where Reb Nassim, who was Rabbi Nachman's top student and wrote all of Rabbi Nachman's books and expanded on the library, he lived in Nimenov. And so the story is in Nimenov, there's a Nimenover Rebbe. And this Misnagid comes Erev Slichot. Slichot is the time when we're saying special prayers before Rosh Hashanah to prepare ourselves for the big day of when we're going to stand before Hashem and be judged and ask for forgiveness. And so he comes during Slichot, which starts the first night, usually around 12 or 12:30 at night. And he comes in the morning, he says, where's the Rebbe? And the Hasidim are like, our Rebbe? He's not here because he's in heaven. It's like, what are you talking about? He's in heaven. Like, our Rebbe, he's like, the real thing. He goes so high during Slichot, he can't be here physically in this world. So this guy, he's a misnagid. He says, you Hasidim are crazy. I don't believe any of your nonsense. The next morning, he goes and sleeps next to the Rebbe's house, under his bed, whatever it was, the room next door. The Rebbe gets up early in the morning, 4 a.m. He hears the Rebbe getting up. He sees the Rebbe not getting dressed in Rebbe clothes, but getting dressed as a wood chopper. And not just a wood chopper, he looks like a goy. He puts on the same hat that the non-Jewish wood chopper has, and the boots, and has a sack and an axe and rope and everything, and he walks out the door. And the Misnagid follows him at a distance. He follows him deep into the forest, sees the Rebbe cutting down trees, chopping them into pieces of wood, tying them up, and he goes to this old woman's house, knocks on the door. And the woman says, what do you want? He said, it's me, it's Ivan. I'm here with your wood. She says, Ivan, I don't know who's Ivan, and I can't afford to buy any wood. Get out of here. He says, I'm coming in. He opens the door. He comes in, this old lady, she's in bed. She's like, it's freezing and I'm exhausted and I don't have any patience for you. Get out of here. What are you, a thief? He's like, no, I'm Ivan the wood chopper. I'm here. I brought your wood. She's like, I don't have any money. Can't afford to pay you. He said, "You're a Jew, right?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "You have a God, right?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "So pray to your God. Your God will give you the money. Don't worry, I'm going to put the wood in the fireplace. I'm going to build a fire for you." He builds a fire. He warms up the house. He covers the woman with a blanket. She's exhausted. She falls asleep. And then he opens up his little book of slichot and starts davening. And the whole time the Misnagid is watching this from the window. The next year, slichot comes around. And now the Misnagid, he's a chassid of the Nimanover Rebbe. And when somebody comes in the shul and says, "Where's the Rebbe? Where's the Rebbe?" And the chassidim, they all say, "Rebbe, he can't be in this world. He's in heaven." And this Misnagid, who's now a chassid, he said, he's not just in heaven, he's even higher than heaven, if not higher than heaven.